As part of the National Wilderness Preservation System, the American people are guaranteed that this remote and beautiful place will remain forever wild.
When I was a kid, I imagined deserts to be parched, bleached, broken ground, solid rock, billowing clouds of dust, but the Sonoran Desert has taught me better than that. Soil out here is almost as precious as the rainfall that falls on it, but you'll notice that the soil is nailed down. Here we have a desert pavement, which acts as a crushed gravel mulch to hold in the soil and the moisture of the soil. And you'll notice that over here we have a cryptobiotic crust, which is actually a living organism like a skin on the desert. Cryptobiotic means hidden life, and much of the desert life is hidden, such as this soil itself. If we take a look at this piece here, this is actually a living organism. It's an alliance of algae, bacteria, and lichen. And it is alive. It's like the skin of the desert. It helps keep the dust down, keeps the soil in, retains the moisture, and if you pour water on this, within an hour or so, it'll turn green. It has very few growing seasons, but it uses the most of the time it has. It is much like a skin. It's easily wounded, and it's also incredibly important for the desert. The weight of a tire will easily crush it, the turn of a tire will easily rip it, and the scars will remain for many, many lifetimes. The soil itself depends upon a number of things, such as decaying leaf matter off of the creosote. When the drought comes, it drops its leaves on the ground. Also this down saguaro, which is now acting as a home for lizards, for bugs, and you got to remember, bugs fuel birds. It'll eventually decay, and this will be a very rich spot of soil here, so that eventually you'll have some other plant, hopefully another saguaro, grow here someday.
The Sonoran Desert is a complex ecosystem with an extraordinary diversity of plant and animal species. More species live here than any other arid region on the globe. Many have evolved ingenious strategies to survive and reproduce, despite the extremes of heat and dryness.
The Cabeza Prieta Refuge is at the heart of the Sonoran Desert, but this desert, our desert, is a pretty tough neighborhood. Temperature extremes running from below freezing to 130 degrees, ground temperatures 180 degrees, rainfall and very, very erratic. May range from 2 inches one year to 10 inches the next year. And this makes for a difficult place for a plant to survive, let alone to start growth. Many of the plants have adopted forms that allow them to evade animals which eat plants, such as the spines on this cholla. And all plants have defense mechanisms. They either taste bad or they defend themselves, or against the weather itself they have devices. If you come back in the summertime, this creosote bush will have dropped its green leaves, will have gone through its flowering cycle, beautiful yellow flowers and white cottony fruits, and it will be virtually brown. The creosote is very, very adept at drawing water in through its root system, and you'll notice that other plants don't grow close to creosote because this creosote is able to pull water from very, very dry soil. So it outcompetes most other plants and makes it very effective. This ocotillo, for example, with its red flame-like flowers, is about to set seed, but you'll notice that it's already dropped its leaves, which were green and are now brown, and it's getting ready for the onslaught of summer. The bark is able to maintain some photosynthesis. It's a little bit green, but basically a plant goes into hibernation during the summertime. We have a nurse Palo Verde tree back here, which acts as the shading umbrella for saguaro seedlings. Birds roost in the limbs of the Palo Verde. In their droppings, after they've been out feasting a day on saguaro fruit, they'll drop the saguaro seeds. And because the ground is richer, the soil is more nutritious around the base of the Palo Verde, those seedlings have a chance. But to have that chance, they need to get the right amount of rain that summer that they are sprouted. They need to have a good winter rain, and they need to have a very good rain the following summer. You'll notice that many of the saguaros in a certain group are about the same height, and that means that they sprouted and survived about the same time period. It may only be 2, 3, or 4 times a century that you get a good year which will sustain the saguaro crop. You seldom see an entire age echelon of saguaros for that reason. The Palo Verde will eventually die before the saguaros, partly because Palo Verdes are shorter lived than saguaros, but also because the saguaros, with their very, very shallow root system, anywhere from 1 inch to 3 inches below the surface, they draw in the water before the rainfall, before the Palo Verde has a chance to tap into it. So the saguaro receives this gift from the Palo Verde, but the Palo Verde may pay the price and die before the saguaros. Imagine this kind of a slope in a bumper crop year, a banner year of rainfall, and if it did, we would have lupin, a carpet of purple on this slope. We would have little onions, desert onions, bulbs below the surface that would send their flowers up. The seeds can actually survive and remain viable in the soil for decades, requiring just the right amount of rainfall.
There are so many unanswered questions about life in the desert. How fast do different species of plants grow? How do neighboring plants affect growth rates? How do animals and plants interact? What impact do human visitors have on wildlife and plants? As part of a long-term study to find answers to these and many more questions, permanent research plots have been established on the refuge. At regular intervals, a refuge ecologist measures the plants in the plot, notes any wildlife activities, and records all observations. Photographs are also taken of the site. There are also selected monitoring areas where the long-term impact of recreational use is studied. Using GPS technology, which is based on signals from satellites, the location of plants, wildlife sightings, campsites are precisely recorded by longitude and latitude, eliminating the need for fences or markers or memory. Years from now, researchers will be able to return to the exact spot, confident that they are measuring the same plant.